Are we recording?
Weekends are not for showers.
Spitting on the ones and twos.
Wait, are we gonna get copyright infringement for that?
Welcome to Hey Sister, Soul Sister.
We're really relying on our editors to do a good job.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Hey Sister, Soul Sister. We have a wonderful episode for you. But first, I'm Erica.
And I'm Leia.
And today, as you guys listen to us, this past year, because this is the last episode of the year. Woo! It's been a while since we've had a guest. We had more guests back in 2020, earlier this year, but it's been a while, and today we're excited to have our guest to bring in the new year to end the year. Let me tell you a little bit about our guest. Our guest is Yvette Bodden. She is an author, founder of Awaken Women, and it is a platform designed to inspire, empower, and encourage women to become their best self. Yeah! And she does that through she does that through the power of storytelling. And on her platform, she shares stories and essays about herself and other women. And what I thought was amazing when we were going to work with her was I saw that she has interviewed some amazing people like Emmy award-winning journalist Liliana Vasquez. Sorry, I said that wrong. Liliana Vasquez. And one of my favorite directors, Ava DuVernay. So welcome, Yvette, to
Hello.
Hey Sister, Soul Sister. We're so excited to have you. And I'm going to pull up my questions because they went away. Tell us a little bit.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here today.
And just for our listeners, we call them our soul gangsters. Hey sister, soul sister, our soul sisters, our soul brothers. So for you guys, soul gang, we hopped on the not the Zoom, but the call or our podcast before. I swear we should have hit record because Yvette, I feel like we have known you forever. You're automatically soul gang status from the minute one. We should have hit record. It was just such a great vibe.
Yeah. So you guys missed out on a lot of good stuff.
and some exclusive sneak peeks. I'm so excited to get into this.
But I have
interview.
a feeling you guys have a lot more questions.
We have so many.
So many questions.
Oh my gosh.
Man, I love the voice. I like it.
Oh yeah, I pop into singing every once in a while. Be forewarned. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Yvette, and what inspired you to start Awakened Women?
Whew, that's a loaded question. So I went through a really difficult divorce, which triggered a depression. And during that time, I felt really alone. And I had the support of family and friends, but that journey, you have to take it alone. I had to figure out who I was on my own and, where I wanted to go next. I had no idea. I had been with my ex-husband for 10 years. So, we had a 5-year-old child and, there was a lot of pain, a lot of questions. And during the process, I sort of started to think about other women who were going through the same thing and were feeling alone and really were alone. So I wanted to create a resource that other women, could draw from when they were going through a hard time in their life, or maybe they were just asking themselves, what is my journey? What am I doing? Where am I going? I think oftentimes we stick to our roles and we get sort of settled in life and we don't ask ourselves the big questions. And I was sort of on this inquisition. I wanted to figure out who I was. So, the book was a big part of that. I actually started the book before the platform. Midway through the book, I thought about all the topics that, and issues that as women we have. And there is a huge overlap, whether you're, Latina or African American or white or Asian, there are certain, issues or topics that we deal with in life. And it has nothing to do with your background. As a woman, we share a lot of different um, just inner conflict and
Yeah.
just issues, period. So
Yeah.
this was a way of me, putting a resource out there that could help other women.
I think that's what I loved about going through Awaken Woman, the platform, was everything, one, so relatable. And I think it's absolutely true that we have, when we go through our own human and womanhood experiences, we automatically think we're so alone, and it's so isolating. It could be like you feel like there's no one else that could relate to this. And when you give a platform to women to like amplify their voices, read something that's relatable, I think that that gives people hope, like just to see just a little glimmer that just outside of this pain there's more, like I can thrive. And it felt good. Like when I was going through the stories, I was like, oh my gosh, like this needs to be amplified for every woman to see, because it was just so, it had like,
You
I don't know,
connect
like,
it.
yeah, like there's a like
Same.
lots of connection. And like it just gives like that, a woman like, hey, there's more.
Yeah.
Hold on, there's another day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what
Well,
I oh sorry.
no, no, and no, to Leah's point, what I was trying to do with the platform is have something that all women could relate to and all women could connect to. That was the key. So when I was creating it, that's what I was thinking about. I was thinking about women just like me who have a full-time job, are single moms, or are moms, period. Um, and just your average girl or your average woman. So it just a quick note that I should mention. I remember when I was going through this painful time in my life, I went to the bookstore, and all the books that were in the self-help section, yes, I did go to that section, I couldn't connect. They were either written by doctors, written by women that were well educated and went to a great school, and but there weren't any women that were me. And that is where Awakened Woman comes from. I am your average woman with a full-time job and paying for school and trying to figure out her love life. And I'm a hot mess, I always say that, but I'm trying to figure it out a step at a time. So thank you for sharing that. That is important.
You're welcome. And what even in your book, what I noticed is like, I mean, I'm not a mother, I'm not divorced, but I related to your story because as as women, I think a lot of times since the day we're born, we are conditioned to be a wife, to be a mother, and there's nothing outside of that. And at the at the very upfront in the very beginning of your book, you're talking about how you you were settling into that role, but you weren't really happy, and you were trying to find out who Yvette really was, outside of those, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Outside of those the cultural conditioning, yeah, society conditioning, and the roles that society put us in. So I think that's just so powerful when you read that, all women reading that and understanding like there's more to you than being a wife and a mother, and you're a complete human. So I think that was very powerful. Thank you for that.
Aw, thank you. Thank you so much, first of all, for reading the book. You know, I've been married twice. Um, but it's interesting because I didn't know who I was. Just Yvette alone on her own, I didn't know who she was. So, I think sharing that was very important because there are tons of women out there going through the same thing. And single, married.
Yeah. Do you feel like in your sharing your story, like it's also the process of discovering who you are and defining who Yvette is? Like, do you feel like as you were sharing your story, like, do you feel like that was like helping you define who you are and like declaring, I'm not just, a single mom. I'm not just, a wife or even an ex-wife. I'm not just a friend. I am. this is Yvette? Like, did you find like a little bit of a discovery along the way?
Uh, I wish I could say that I was sort of claiming who I was during the process. No.
I love it. No, I love it. I love the like.
Sometimes it comes later, you know.
Yes, right. But I love the authenticity. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's easy to say, well, yes, that's my journey, and I've discovered, who I am and what, But it's.
Oh.
It does.
But I mean, the real like nitty gritty, honest truth is sometimes the answer is no. I'm still in discovery, and I love that. I
Oh,
love
girl,
that.
it's really funny because when I wrote at the end of the book, I talk about how Awakened woman was born, and I I don't know. I thought, okay, I had this great awakening. I'm free. No, there isn't one awakening. I've actually had, a new awakening since that book. I think it's ongoing. I think the journey continues, and we have to be receptive to the things that come, the lessons that come, because the lessons
So good.
they come disguised in pain, which really sucks. But it's the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So no,
so
I
good,
had no
though.
idea. I didn't claim. No,
You're
I
like,
love it. It's
not that amazing.
perfect. No, I think that is so perfect, because I think we think like there's a place to get to, in our growth or our healing. There's
Mhm.
no place to get to. It literally is like this ongoing dealing
Well,
with ourselves.
but it's just like that word happiness. Like when I was younger, I thought, okay, I'll do A, B, and C, and I will reach that place, happiness. There is no place called happiness. You have these moments when you are happy and you experience happiness, but there is no place called happiness. I don't believe that. So
That's so good. That's so good.
yeah, you're right. It's ongoing. The whole journey.
Yeah.
It doesn't stop until
Yeah.
Yeah.
six
Until,
feet.
until that thing happens,
Until
the
that
D
thing
word.
happens. I like that.
Well, we often, and I don't know if we said this on the podcast, Leah, but I know we have a mentor that always says, if you're not growing, you're dying. So
I had that. I wrote an article that has to do with exactly that.
yeah,
I live by that. I believe
Yeah.
it. I think
So
that
true.
we should be continuously asking ourselves the questions and looking
yes.
for those lessons. I love that.
Yeah, and finding happy moments on the way, experiencing those happy moments.
Yeah.
Because it's about the destiny. What is it? It's about the journey, not the destination. I
Ah,
almost reversed that, and it would have been totally wrong for the podcast. So I can't remember if you mentioned this as we were recording or before we were recording. You had mentioned that you had no intent of writing a book. But growing up as a kid, did you want to be a writer? No.
nope.
What was your
I
dream as a child?
It's funny because when I was, a little girl, I had all these creative outlets. I studied ballet for 6 years. I loved reading. I played the guitar. I played the piano. I took vocal lessons. I had all this creativity, but no, absolutely not. I didn't. I never thought about writing a book. I wrote tons of journals, which have all been burned, but those teenage years and all.
Yeah.
But no, I definitely didn't set out to write a book.
And so what gave you the motivation to like write this book? Like I know like you had the I think you mentioned this, and sorry if I'm putting words in your mouth. I'm like trying to think like what is it before or after we hit record? But you had mentioned that like, from your divorce you started writing this book, but what kept you going? So I mean, I'm great at starting things and I'm horrible at ending them. So what kept you going to finish this book and get your message out there?
I'll be completely honest, and I always say this, the book wrote me. I know that I had to write it. It had to be completed to help other women who we're going through any painful experience or we're on their own journey. I really felt like it's something that I had to do. So I guess I would say it's been my purpose.
Since you did not intend like to become a writer, what, I guess, did you have any nerves or fears, or
I still have them. What are you
like,
talking
what?
about?
They never left.
Yes, absolutely. And I still have them. I mean, you don't know how people are going to react to your writing, because what's that saying? Writing is, oh my God, I should remember this. So is it subjective? But everyone that reads the same article won't have the same response. So, I know that, but at the end of the day, I have to write my truth and write it in a way that is relatable. And, those who connect to it, yay, I love it. I love, the women that are part of my community, and those who don't connect with it, then hopefully will find another article or short story or interview on the site that they will connect with. But no, I still have insecurities and fears. You just never know how people are going to react. And, there is material on the site that, there's serious subjects. I write about domestic violence. I'm also going to be writing about sexual abuse, which is, something that I think it's one of the generational curses that we live with. But it's important that we talk about it.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
I still have fears. Are you kidding me? that doesn't go away.
Yeah.
Fear. It's what our mentor says, and something we try to put in practice every day is like fear is just there. It's what you do with it. It's how you act. It's how you be aside from the fear, because the fear will always be present. So yeah,
and it's a motivator too. I mean, if you think about it, like, have you thought about those moments where you're afraid to do something and you do it anyway? How do you feel after that?
100%.
That sense of so if you use your fear, I think it's powerful, and that's what I'm trying to do.
I love it.
Yeah. And it stretches you, right? It kicks you out of your comfort zone a little bit. It's like feel the fear and do it anyway, right? And just stretch yourself.
That's where the growth.
That's where the growth. Yeah, you just gotta push yourself a little more. And I think, I have one of the questions I had on here, which was the next question I wanted to ask, and it ties into what Leo was saying. Was like, how did you overcome your doubts? But I think you already answered that. I think you were just saying, like, you just felt that pull that you needed to do it, and the stories needed to be heard. So I think that's just so amazing. And I wanted to, like, to all our listeners, I want you guys to really understand, like, when you have that pull in your heart, it's because someone out there energetically in the world needs to hear that story, or needs to feel, you're inspiring them in some way. You may not even know them yet, and you're getting that energetic pull. And so I think that's so important, that we need to be so focused on that, because we're not conditioned to follow that tug. They tell us that the tug should become a mom and a wife, So I think it's just so important, and you live that, and I think that's so inspiring for all of us out here.
Oh, thank you. As I've gotten older, I think it's just important to say, I am learning to trust my gut. We all have that, what you're referring to as pull. Our gut does not steer us wrong. It really doesn't. And as I get older, I've learned to trust it more and more. And sometimes it means doing things that I'm afraid to do. It means doing things that, will be painful, because some of the things that we are supposed to do are going to be painful, but that's where we're going to find the growth. So yeah, I have to agree with you. Going with your gut is, man, it's powerful.
100%.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, given that, that definitely resonates with me, because as I work on my own personal growth and development, that's the common theme, is like, trust yourself, trust yourself, trust yourself. So what would you say to your younger self Is there any message you would want to give her?
Yeah. I'm sorry. It's always really emotional. I think understanding your self-worth and just valuing who you are as not just as a woman, as a human being, as a contributor in this world. I think worth is everything. It's tied into self-love. It's tied into the decisions we make. It's tied into the people that we choose to have around us. I have to say, knowing, understanding, respecting your worth is everything.
Yeah.
So if I had to tell my younger self something, it would be, learn your worth, because it's going to lead every decision that you make. Hands down.
That's beautiful. And resonates, I think, for me too, because I think if I were to look back at my younger self too, we get so caught up in what like our peers or society or school or our parents
experience, even your childhood experiences, all those things. Definitely
100%. And self-worth is a practice. That is oh my gosh. An everyday looking at or awareness of where am I today, how much am I valuing myself today, honoring myself today, because it's so easy, it can be so easy to say that we're I'm not doing enough, and it's
and as you're mentioning all these things, I absolutely connect with what you're saying. I think one last thing I would say is, we talk about kindness for others. And I think it's important to be kind to yourself. I know for me, I'm my worst critic. I am so hard on myself. And that's something that I continue to work on. But I have to remember, I have to be kind to myself and have empathy for that woman in the mirror, because, she's not perfect. Like I said, she's a hot mess. But she's also a good person. And kindness for yourself, I think, is it's part of that too.
That's so true. We're so quick to be so mean to ourselves.
So quick.
And we forget to just show ourselves grace and love. And as somebody who's high energy and wants to do a lot of things, I always look at what I'm not doing instead of focusing on what I actually am. But then also giving myself a break, freaking resting and doing nothing. We deserve to do nothing. Yeah, watch some Netflix. Rest is so important, and I feel like I don't even give myself that grace. I sometimes compare myself to my boyfriend. He'll come home and he'll be like, okay, I'm gonna take a break for 2 hours and then I'll help you. But for me, as soon as I log off, I'm like, okay, I need to do this, I need to do that. And these are things that I just bestowed on. Is that the right word? Bestowed on myself, told myself that I needed to do. No one else is assigning it to me, but I am. But I think I'm giving myself worth in the things I do. Or it's just I'm not enough if I don't do all these things. And we need to just kind of sit back and go, no, you've done enough. You worked a whole freaking 8-hour day already. Calm the F down, sit down. So I think the worthiness just ties into being nice to yourself. And as we're stepping into the new year, make that a resolution. Be nice to yourself. So the easiest resolution you could do.
Make it a goal.
Make it a goal.
I don't like resolutions. Resolution. You know what? That whole word, it's okay, if I don't fulfill this, I failed. Let's try setting that as a goal. That's my goal. I'm going to do this.
I love that. Love that. Set the intention for 2022. Be nice to yourself.
Be nice to yourself. Yeah. That is such a good message, because we often are the last person on our lists, and maybe a lot of times we don't even make the list, know. So,
or you look at the list and you're like, oh, that's a lot.
It's really interesting. So my mom, she always said to me, I don't know if the audience speaks Spanish, but you guys speak Spanish, so I'll tell you. She would tell me, yo primero, yo segundo, yo tercero. Meaning, you have to put yourself first. Because when you take care of yourself, you will generate the energy to take care of others.
Ooh,
and
your
the
mom.
funny thing, I wish she would have done that more when we were growing up, because she gave everything.
Yeah.
So
We have talked about our moms on the show. And that exact thing. But I mean, I love that she was teaching you that, because I it sounds to me she was aware of, what she wanted to create for you, because more often than not, as we watch our mothers, who are like the biggest givers of, like, probably the biggest giver we've seen in our life, as a model. And they're often, I know when I like look back at my mom, and even today, she is constantly last. Even if she says that we matter, or like, I matter, I should go first, she will give and give and give and give and be the last one on her list. So it's something that I feel like in our generation we're starting to awaken to, and starting to be more open to learning, like, hey, I need to go first, or else I can't show up for anyone else. I'm depleted or exhausted. Yeah.
And it's a cycle, though. Like, if you think about it, mother, it's something that passed on mother to mother to mother. Like, I know that my daughter's now 18, but I've slowly sort of, introduced her to the fact that, no, mommy needs mommy time. Mommy, needs her, to do things for herself. Yes. And I have to tell you, like, she gets it, and she supports it, which I love. Like, she'll tell me, Mom, you need a break. Why don't you go away for the weekend? Why don't you, have a nice dinner? Like, she gets it. So I think it's important that we break that cycle, because our mothers were nurturers and, and caretakers, but they did it to a point where they lost who they were.
Yeah.
And I think we need to teach our, our kids differently.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful.
And some people don't have that. Like, I didn't, to be very honest with you, it's not in my family at all. Like, some like, not within my cousins, but within my aunts and uncles. It's like the older generation before. Like, the generation before, it's almost looked down upon when it is independent female. And I think now they've kind of transitioned over, but it took a while, and I still see it. Like, my mom, she wants to be wanted all the time, even though she'll complain, like, I'm always doing things, but she still wants to be wanted. Like, she'll like get my nieces and be like, oh, I'm the only one that does this. So, like, it's like, well, what do you want? Like, you want to be wanted, or like not? Like, what do you, I don't know what you want, but that's just the cultural.
But don't you, I'm curious, don't you feel like, as a woman, let me ask you the question, do you ever feel like, you want to be needed? Like, whether it's taking care of the boyfriend or the daughter, or, your mom, or don't you feel like within you, like, there's this need to be needed? Because I know for me, I wanted to be needed. I wanted my daughter to need me. I wanted my ex, when I was married, my husband to need me. And it's almost like it's or it was fulfilling. Now I think there has to be a balance. I want to be I'm not going to be everything to everyone. That's not me. But I do sense that for a big part of my life, that's what I wanted. I wanted to be needed. And now I'm like, you know what? No, you could do for yourself. You can cook dinner for yourself. You can, you could do laundry, like my daughter does laundry.
That's good. Yeah. It is, and I've actually shot myself in the foot with that. Like, not just even with family, but in work. Like, I was like, I wanted to be the one that people came to for everything, or the one that knew it all, or the one that knew how to figure it out, even if it was outside of my job description. And what ended up happening was, a lot of things were assigned to me, and because I'm a high energy person, I could do the job of like 3 people, but then I crashed and burned. Because I was working late hours, and I was like just grinding. And then I realized, like, hold up, wait a minute. like all my coworkers that have my same position are not doing as much as me. And I started saying no, and it was very hard to be like not needed, or hey, go to somebody else. Like that was so hard. It was such like a ego wound for me. Like people would ask me and I had to get comfortable saying I don't know, or let me ask, you need to ask this person, and me just washing my hands of it because I felt like I was being rude. But in reality, I'm like, this is not even my job. That's not part of my job. It's not in my job description. And that was hard. That was really hard.
And it's something like that I've thought about, and I'm going to write about it. But it's like, I'll give you an example. Like, even, have you ever dated someone who I call a project? Like it's almost like you fix them. They need you, and you sort of fix them, and I really do think there's some part of us that needs to be, I don't know, needed, wanted.
Yeah. I was a serial dater, like serial dater. So I can get that.
It's okay.
I I'm totally open about it. So, but that resonates because every single dude that I had dated before my current man, but every single dude was like this fixer-upper, like just non-committal. I could change him, like take him to the next level. Like it was that. But it was like, but see, like I could blame them all I want, but things didn't really shift and change for me until I started looking within and like, hold up. What is it about me that wants this validation? That wants to be like needed by this man. And until like I saw that in me, like I was like, oh, well, no, thank you. I don't want any of that anymore. And it goes back to self-worth. It's like, I want more. I deserve more. I can have more. And then it was like, that's enough. I'm not doing this non-committal dude that I got to go fix, now it's about me and what I actually want to build for my life. So I totally get that. I totally get that. Yes.
I think a lot of us do, myself.
Yeah, we do. And and there's been moments in my relationship where I try to do that and it's like, no. And then when I actually, like Leia was saying, I do the inner work. I'm like, what is it here? Why do I want him to change on this topic? What are my beliefs around that? And when I start doing that and uncovering things, I was like, oh, okay. And then all of a sudden we're fine. Like, I didn't change it. It was just my belief system around a reaction to a certain situation. So, it's interesting. It's interesting. Yeah, we do. We have, right? It's our default, I guess, as well.
I like that. It's our default.
Default, right? Default. And I think that's, one of the things to look at too is like how, if we're like functioning on autopilot, right, on default, look, like that's part of the awakening. Like we gotta like pay attention, like what's going on for us underneath, and we can make it a conscious choice for our lives, right? And we get to create exactly what it is.
I think the other thing is, though, I know for myself, I can't speak for anyone else, but I spent a lot of time with my sister called it walking around life with what is it, blindfolders on, like blinders on. And I think until you are ready to face your truths and face your true your truth about everything, including yourself, I just think you'll walk around sort of with those blinders on.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing, like readiness. You're ready when you're ready, not a second before, like,
and not when anyone tells you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Totally. So, our next question here is, what advice would you give any woman that you feel is struggling to just do all the things, keep up with creative projects, their work life, family life, social life, rest, because I know that a lot of us, and you're creative like me, we like to do a lot of things. And And one of my things, like, I fear like having children because I'm like, oh, it's gonna take away time from the projects that I want to do. And so what advice would you give somebody that wants to start a family but still have all these projects that they want to do, and how to maybe balance it all if they can?
Such a great question, Erica. Great question.
It is a very good question. I'm going to be completely honest.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure I believe you can balance it all. I think you can have everything you want in life, just not all at the same time. You know, I know that when I decided to have a child, I was willing to sacrifice part of myself. Not part, most of myself. That's the truth. And for the past 18 years, every decision I made, she was at the forefront. And I knew that going in, that's what moms do. But now that she's, up in college and she's moved out, now it's my turn. So I've been able to have, a lot of because there's so much more I want, but a lot of the things that I want, but I know that I can't have it all at the same time. So, this concept of, oh yeah, women can have it all. Yeah, absolutely. But all at the same time, I'm not sure about that. I think
that's a lot. Yeah.
You have to be able to prioritize yourself. And I know we're in a place where all we talk about now is self-care. It's not a trend. It's real. If you don't take care of yourself, you're going to fall apart. You're going to hit that wall. And like Erica said, you're going to crash and burn. So whether it's carving, I don't know, an hour out on a Sunday, even 30 minutes on a Sunday, it is your priority, to do that, because you have to take care of yourself. Like, I can't say it enough. I got divorced when my daughter was, she was really little. She was 5 or 6. And I had to learn that mommy needs mommy time. And that could be 30 minutes in the shower, whether I want to cry or take a bubble bath or whatever it is, but I had to have that time. And it takes a while to, give yourself some grace and allow yourself that time. So I would say carve out the time, make it your duty, your responsibility to yourself and your mental, physical health. Like, it's something that I can't stress enough, because I have crashed and burned, and it's harder to get out when you're sort of, when you've crashed.
It is.
So
it is.
Why not try and prevent it as much as you can, however you can?
Absolutely. Yeah. Really good question. That was so good.
I don't know if that answer was like,
no, it does.
I think it's great.
I think because I think a lot of times people are like, I need to do it all and all at once. And like, I know I fall into that, but it's like, no, you need to do like one thing at a time. You could have it all, not all at once. Like, you sometimes you see people that have what you want, right? Or the career that you want, and you just look at their end results without really looking at what they did, like the steps they did there and what they started off with, and then slowly started building from,
it's really cool that, to your point, one of the reasons why I started this empowerment series I have, like the series of interviews, is because we see these women, they're CEOs, they're actresses, they're very successful, but no one really thinks about what's behind all that success. Like, what were, the sacrifices? What were the roadblocks? We have to look past that, initial facade. And, when I did the series, the interview series is not, it's not like a mainstream interview. I ask for each woman for like a little piece of their journey as women, because I want to show the human side of these women. That is the goal, because we're all human. We're not perfect. We don't have it all. Even if on print or on social media, it looks like you have it all. No, you don't. None of us do.
Yeah.
No, I think, yeah, you got to look past like the outcome, because like, and gosh, don't even get me started with social media and like how, how curated it can be, like, I think that's what women, the like average everyday woman wants to see, is like that authenticity. Like, it's messy. Life can be messy. It's how you go through it. And it's not meant to be all like butterflies and rainbows. It literally is like, the magic is in the grit, the magic is in the, what you go through, because that's where the growth is. So it can be very deceiving, especially with social media, that you only see like this beautiful packaged life, and it's not necessarily the case. What I want to see is like, what was the struggle behind it? Tell me the story of like how, you came up, or even like dealt with the fear, or dealt with like the struggle, because that's what I think people really want to see, is that authentic life lived.
Yeah,
absolutely,
for sure.
And I think just getting caught up in that is so toxic.
It can totally be. Yeah,
super toxic. You mentioned that your empowerment series and interviewing other women, and in your platform. What was the most exciting interview you've done, or what's your best experience since starting your platform? It doesn't have to be the series, it could be just the whole platform.
Yes. I think for me, like, the most memorable part so far, I remember receiving a message from a woman in I think it was Kenya, and she sent me this beautiful message about how I've been able to plant a seed and give her hope. She was abused by a family member, and she was in a really dark place, and she said that I was able to give her light. And I did research, and I found an organization. I mean, she's in Africa. I don't I'm in the US, but I was able to find an organization that she can call, and maybe get some books or some recommendations on how to start her healing process. So I think for me, it's just been so, I wouldn't call it exciting, I would just call it it's just amazing that I was able to connect with someone that's so far away. I was born and raised in the US, and as much work as we have to do, we are still, as women, we're pretty blessed with the freedom that we have and the resources that we have. And just speaking to that woman in Africa, it reminded me that there are women all over the world that are in very dark places and barely have any freedoms. And that was a big reminder for me. And I don't know, I was just happy that I changed one life in some way.
Oh, that's odd. I think that that story speaks to the impact you make. You know what I mean? Like how far your reach can be. That is amazing.
Beautiful. Yeah. So beautiful.
I mean, I think that's the perfect segue to the next question.
Yeah.
Where do you see where do you see Awakened Woman in the next maybe 5-10 years? What's the next iteration?
Man, would you ask me where do you see it in 2022? How about that?
We'll take 2022.
Yeah, we'll take 2022 if you can't think that far.
We'll take 2022.
Next year.
Yeah.
We've had a rough 2 years.
I know. I'm like, oh my God, I can't even think that far ahead.
Right.
I don't know. My hope is that it just continues to impact women in big or small ways. If women are connecting to the stories, then that's a win for me. And whether it's a year from now or 5 years from now, I want to impact like the way, women, go about their journey. If I can add in some way to their journey, then for me, that's a win. And that's what I want to keep doing. I want to tell real stories that, that women can connect with. And it's not always easy. Some stories are really difficult to share. I know I shared a story about this woman is a CEO of a medical center in New York State. She's very successful, on the terms that we in society, I guess, outline. But she was raped at the age of 9. And, I always refer to her as the woman with a cape of courage. I think we all have that cape in some way, shape or form. But her story really impacted me. And writing it and sharing it was, I don't know, it was really special, because I know there's a lot of women out there who have been through some sort of sexual violence. And it was really important to share this story and have other women connect. And those are the stories I want. I mean, obviously not, only violent stories, but those are the stories that I want to share, so that women who are going through, a lot of these painful experiences don't feel so alone. It's all about those women, that are out there who feel alone, whether, they're in domestic abuse situations, whether they've been victims of violence, or it can be something as simple as women who are not, they have quote unquote everything and are still not happy. I want to plant a seed around the world, but I want to plant seeds. That's what I want.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful.
That's so beautiful.
Oh, I love it.
And I think, we had a question about your legacy, but I feel like you answered that.
Totally did.
That is your legacy.
2 in 1.
Yeah.
2 in 1. 2 in 1.
When I think
because
about,
some people,
like when I think about, my daughter, she's going to be 19, and she is, at the cusp of becoming a woman. I want to reach those young girls, girls, women. Just planting seeds is, to me, the greatest legacy you can have, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Amazing.
So beautiful. It's perfect. And, I think the work that you're doing here and you'll continue to do, I think it just brings hope to people that don't see people like us in books and media. And I know growing up, that's what was something that I longed for, as a kid who was obsessed with television, watching just white families on TV. And like you step into personal development world and it's, white authors, and you're like, what? Like, you want that connection from someone that had a similar experience to you. It doesn't have to be exactly the same, just similar, and who isn't this Instagram model, type of person that you see on TV and media and books and all that. So I really, I just want to say thank you for, writing the book, starting your platform, because, even though I didn't know it, I was one of those people that was calling to you like, like in Disney, calling to you to like make, bring your words and experience out to the world. So muy importante.
Thank you so much. It's women like you and Leah, reading the stories is what keeps it alive. It really does, because if no one's reading, then it has no life. So thank you guys for reading it and sharing my message.
You're welcome. So what do you have in store next?
Oh, I knew that was coming.
Just let us know what you can say. I'm sure there's stuff you cannot say.
I'm halfway through my second book.
Yay!
So that's exciting because it has nothing to do with me. So that's a good thing. So I'm really excited about that. Hopefully finishing it up in 2022. And then I have a couple more surprises, which I will be announcing in January.
Ooh, I'm so excited.
So that's going to be, it's going to open up a new avenue to have, I don't want to say too much.
No, that's okay.
That's it.
Okay,
That's it. Just open up a new avenue.
Yes.
That's it.
Open up new avenues to access AW. So I think it's going to be
Okay.
amazing.
We're gonna keep an eye out on the socials. I'm assuming that's where to look.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Where can people connect to you?
So-
with you. That's the right word.
So I'm on Twitter and most active on Facebook and Instagram as Woman Awakened. On Facebook, AW Inspires. Twitter, Woman Awakened. And of course, there's the platform awakened-woman.com.
Yeah, and we'll put all of that in the show notes so you guys could give her a follow and check out all the awesome things she's doing, and then you could, get alerts for her announcements and the book. So excited.
So excited.
And the first book is obviously on barnesandnoble.com and Awakens and Amazon.com.
Yes.
Cool. Sweet.
Beautiful.
We'll put those links as well. And that's I don't have any more questions.
No,
That's a relief.
This was
This
great.
I was just
so
like waiting. I was
great.
like, oh gosh.
This was
Thank
so
you
great.
so much.
Thank you so much for being
Yeah.
so generous with
Thank
your
you.
time and just being so authentic and willing to just be real with us. And we appreciate you
Yeah.
so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. And maybe we'll bring you back when you have the other book out.
I'm sure that'll be interesting.
Right? Well, we shall see. Thank you so, gang. Remember to do all the things. What is it, like, review? I'm forgetting
Follow.
stuff right now. Follow. We love you and catch you on the flip side.
Peace.